Hi there, this is Ranjit from tech2buzz.com, and in this video I'm going to talk about the differences between the iPad and the Nexus 7 tablet. This video is going to be a little bit different. I won't be doing benchmarks or stuff like that. There are a ton of YouTube videos, you can check them out for that, but I'll be talking about the end user experience between both these tablets. One thing that you guys need to understand is that the iPad mini runs on the iOS platform and the Nexus 7 tablet runs on Android. So these two are completely different. So again, I would say if you're deciding between them, the first thing that you need to decide is which platform you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable with Android, go with the Nexus 7. Again, likewise, if you're comfortable with iOS and already you are with the iOS ecosystem, the iPad mini makes sense. Again, both these tablets are pretty good, and in day-to-day usage, you won't find a lot of difference. Yes, there'll be a half a millisecond or half a second or so of ups and downs in each of the tablet, but I think so for end user experience, that does not matter a lot. So I'll just talk about the experience between them. And the first thing that I've noticed is I've been using this Nexus 7 tablet now for more than 2 months, and I would have said it earlier also, and I would say it again. The Nexus 7 is very comfortable to hold in one hand like this. But what I felt with the iPad mini is that it's a little bit wider compared to the Nexus 7. Let me put it here, and as you can see, the extra width, and if I hold it like this, it's a little bit uncomfortable. I have to stretch my hand. So mostly you'll hold this tablet like this in your hand. And again, the wider screen is good in some things. For example, for reading, I felt it's a little bit better. Again, one more thing is that the iPad mini is again a lot slimmer than Nexus 7, but in day-to-day usage, I didn't felt anything like that. Again, the iPad mini is a little bit lighter. It's about 308 grams, and this Nexus 7 is about 340 grams. But again, while generally using, you won't find the weight difference a lot. One thing that I noticed is, if you notice this Nexus 7, the back cover is plastic and kind of rubbery, and I have been using this tablet now for about 2 months, and I don't use any cover or something like that. Then also, I don't have any scuff marks or scratches like that. But I'm a little bit scared with this iPad mini because the back is aluminum, and it's a very thin aluminum in my opinion, and it can easily get scratched. So if you're going to buy this iPad mini, I would strongly suggest that you invest in a cover that covers the back also. Otherwise, in a few weeks or a month's time, the back will get a lot of scratches. So that's one thing that you need to keep in mind. Another thing is that both these tablets tout of great battery life, but in my day-to-day usage, the Nexus generally claims about 8 or 9 hours of battery life, but I felt that the battery life that I am personally getting with Nexus 7 in day-to-day usage is just around 6 hours and max of about 6.5 hours. But on the other hand, the iPad mini, I was getting about between 9 and 10 hours. So definitely the battery life that was offered by the iPad is better. Also, I noticed that the Nexus 7, when you stress it a lot, like playing games, etc., the back portion gets a little bit more warmer. But the iPad is relatively cool whenever you use it. So that's also one more thing that I noticed. Another thing that we do a lot with our tablets is the web browsing, and again the web browsing in both these is pretty good, but again there are differences. Again, the iPad mini uses the Safari web browser, and I just noticed something that is very interesting, and I didn't think that it would be like this because the Nexus 7 houses a quad-core processor. But yeah, I felt that the web browsing was a little bit much smoother on the iPad. I don't blame the Nexus 7 hardware for that, but I feel that the Chrome browser that ships with this Nexus 7 is not that fully optimized, and sometimes while pinching and zooming and stuff, you get a little bit lag or something. Also, as I have told you that this Nexus 7 is not that wide, I felt that typing it on this in the portrait mode is much more comfortable compared to the iPad mini. Here I have to sometimes stretch. And the another thing that I wanted to talk about is the screen between them, and there's a lot of differences here. The Nexus 7 has a higher PPI, but I felt that the iPad mini screen quality is much better. I'll just show you all both these tablets side by side, and then you can decide which one is better. But I felt that the image reproduction on the iPad mini was better compared to the Nexus 7. So here we have both the tablets. This is the Nexus 7 and this is the iPad mini, and I just wanted to show you the color reproduction. I don't know if the camera can capture this, but I feel that the iPad mini, the colors are much more vibrant and they have much more contrast compared to the Nexus 7. The Nexus 7, the contrast is not as great as I would have loved. So let me get back. Let's also do web browsing test. Before that, let me clear the cache on the Chrome. I'm going to clear it, and I'm going to clear everything, and also do the same for the iPad mini. And let's go back and let's fire up the browsers again. Let's just go to a website called The Verge, because it's a pretty heavy website in my opinion. I'm going to do the same here. And also do notice the color difference between the screen. I feel that the Nexus 7 is slightly on the yellowish side and the iPad mini is slightly on the bluish tint. So, and let me try to click on this link at the same time. 1, 2 and 3. Yes, I've clicked it on the same time, and looks like the iPad mini. Now the Nexus 7 is also loading it. Let's see which one loads it faster. Both of them are on the same Wi-Fi network, and it's a pretty heavy website. That's why I chose this. The Verge is a very heavy website. If you load normal websites, they'll load almost at the same time. Again, the Nexus 7 loaded it a little bit faster. Actually, it's not completely loaded yet. It's still loading, but it rendered the page faster. One thing I've noticed, while the page is not loaded completely on the Nexus, the pinch to zoom extra will be very choppy. And here it's surprising that the iPad mini is taking such a long time. There is something wrong with this test. It shouldn't take this much time actually. And let's go to a website called Engadget, or both these devices at the same time, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to try to hit the link at the same time so that we'll know the load times. 1, 2 and 3. And very close, I would say. Actually, both of them are still loading. iPad finished. Nexus 7 is still loading it. As you can see, it's not completely loaded yet, and it's still loading it, but we can do the pinch to zoom gesture. And the iPad mini, the pinch to zoom, I always felt was a little bit more smoother compared to other tablets, and that's the case here. We'll also try to go to one more website called TechSpot. This is not a very heavy website, so it should load pretty quickly, I would say. And again, we're going to go from Google directly, so that, and I'm going to try to click on the link at the same time. 1, 2 and 3. Again, I would say Nexus 7 half a millisecond or so faster. And again, I just want to show you that the color difference between the screens. I felt that the iPad mini has a bluish tinge. On the other hand, the Nexus 7 screen is a little bit warmer. That's yellowish in nature. So again, as you can see, both of them do the job of web browsing, etc. They're very close. In terms of benchmarks also, I got some interesting results. In CPU bound benchmarks, the Nexus 7 was clearly better because of its quad core. It beat the iPad mini because it has just a dual core processor. But on the GPU performance, that's the graphic, and that's important for gaming, the iPad mini was the clear winner. The games loaded faster and they were much smoother on the iPad mini. So if you are a big gamer, I would suggest that the iPad mini is the way to go. Now coming down to the pricing, here we have a lot of difference. First, I'll talk about the US pricing. In US, you can get the Nexus 7 16GB for just $200, whereas you need to spend about $330 for the iPad. and that's a big difference in my opinion. Another thing is that the iPad mini does not support a retina display, so sometimes the text looks jagged if you're used to the iPad 3 or the new iPad which have a retina display. The text definitely on the Nexus 7 is much more crisper because it has a higher PPI. At the time of shooting this video, the iPad mini has not yet launched in India, so we don't know the price, but the Nexus 7 16GB sells for around 20,000 in India. And the iPad mini, when it launches in India, it is expected to be priced around 20 to 22,000. So the price difference is not that much, at least in India. But if you're already invested in the, iOS ecosystem, and you have other iOS devices like iPhone, etc., then I would say the iPad mini makes sense. But again, do note that the iPad mini is definitely wider compared to Nexus 7. So single hand operation at times is a little bit difficult. So mostly I felt comfortable using both the hands on the iPad, but it was excellent for reading books. For example, you can just hold it in one hand and read books. So again, I hope this video gives you a brief idea about both these devices. That's it for now. This is Ranjit from tech2buzz.com, and I hope to see you in my next video.